Okay, so today in class, we visited the number line a little bit, and as we've started to realize with how we're doing things in our math class this year, we're going to divide this up into two parts today. We're going to have a part up top here where we're just dealing with the very solid and concrete with our numbers. And then down here at the bottom, you can see we've got a number line that is not completely filled in, and we've got a lot of unknowns. And so down here, we're still be able to work with this number line when we don't necessarily know all the information. So your homework tonight is going to kind of be split up into two parts. So if we deal up here strictly with this top half here where we just have a solid number line where we have all the values that we need. All right, a couple of the expectations is that you would be able to graph on these number lines. Now remember in class we talked about what the definition here is. So when we ask you to graph, we are going to ask you to mark a location. All right, or that might later come on, we may ask you to mark off some distances. But if you're being asked to graph, you should be making a mark on a number line to highlight some information. So we could simply just ask you the question, or ask you, graph 4. And so if we would ask you to graph 4, all that would require of you is to mark that location with a dot and, label that with some kind of a point, point A, point B, whatever you feel comfortable with. All right, it may be something as simple as that. We could expand that question a little bit. We could say, let's graph all points 3 units from 9. Now that's a little bit more of a question than what I asked you before. There's a lot more to this than just putting a dot at 4. All right, but we still got to remember we're asking you to graph, so we are wanting you to mark a location. Well, what are we wanting you to mark? We want you to mark all the points that are 3 units from 9. So if we start, we're going to be at 9. Now we need to go 3 units from that. So 3 units from that, 1, 2, 3. That works. That's 3 units from 9. But what we have to be careful of is it does say all points. That kind of implies that there's going to be more than one. So we can go 3 units to the left, but we can also, 1, 2, 3, go 3 units to the right, and we could mark another one. So this particular question actually has 2 responses that we're looking for because we can go in both directions. All right, so when it comes with graphing, we have a few skills that we want you to be able to be experts at. Not over-the-top complicated information, but again, they're just some things that we've never really been exposed to before that we've got to become a little more comfortable with. And then down here below, this next one, this is just another simple graph that we have, and we may just ask you, what is the distance that is graphed? All right, what's the distance that's being represented on this number line? And we're going from 3 to 7. So again, 1, 2, 3. We're talking about the answer to that question would just simply be 4 units. All right, or if you wanted to make a math problem out of it, 7 minus 3, there's your 4 as well. So again, when it comes to those concrete number lines where we know all the information and we know for sure what every value stands for, just a few basic skills that will need you to go. And we're going to build on this year because, again, everything's in the positive arena at this time. We're going to go negative on things in Chapter 2, and we'll have to visit these number lines again. So we are going to get some practice. All right, now, so the big push for the last couple weeks in class has been, what about when we don't know everything? How do we handle this stuff when we don't know all the numbers? We have variables, we have unknowns, all right? And obviously the expectation here is not going to be the same as what we have up here. All right, we're not going to ask you just to mark a specific point. We're not going to be able to count 3 units from some place that we don't even know, or we're not going to be able to calculate an exact distance if we don't know exactly where we're at. So the expectations for these kind of problems are going to be a little different. Again, they're going to be different and they're going to be more open. We can't expect you to narrow down and give us exact locations when you don't have all the exact information. So these kind of questions are going to be more open-ended. All right? So for example, we may just ask you the question, state 2 facts about point A? All right, what's two things you can tell me about point A? All right, and I'm not looking for A is a letter. I'm not looking for A is lowercase. I mean, those are true statements. But what are two things you can tell me about A based on where it is on this number line? Well, looking at that number line, if it's right here, I obviously know right off the bat, A has got to be greater than 0. All right, it's to the right of 0, which tells us on a number line it's bigger. And I can also tell from this number line that A is less than B. B's farther to the right. I know if this is 7, I could probably come up with an idea what I think this number is, and I know this number is going to have to be smaller than that. All right, so I would just ask you for a couple facts about A, and you should be able to come up with a few things you can see of what is true about A with where it is currently located. And we could do the same thing for B, 2 facts about B. And again, you might say B is less than 7. We can tell that, all right? Most of you might be sitting there saying, well, B is 6. Well, what does that mean? That means B is less than 7. We don't know for sure if B is 6. It could be 6.5. It might even represent 5. We don't know for sure how this number line is structured, but we do know a few things. And again, we could say even the same thing. B is greater than A. We could just flip that one around, and those would be true statements about B. And again, these are more open. All right, we're not looking for that one exact answer here because up here we can be precise. Down here, limited information, so that limits us on how exact we can really be. All right, now we could also expand a little more, tell me something about A plus B. Where would A plus B end up on this number line? Well, looking at the fact that B is so very close to 7, and A is a pretty big jump, I would say that if you did A plus B, that would be bigger than 7. I think if you add these two numbers together, it's going to end up way over here. And that's bigger than 7. I don't know what it's going to be. I can just say that I know it should be bigger than 7. All right? And again, that's about really all we can say there. There's not much else we can say. It's not going to equal 7. If it was going to equal 7, then that space and this space should be the same, and this is much bigger. So if I take this space and move it over here, that's going to take A and put it way out there. If you needed to take a little piece of paper and you could say, okay, the distance is 1, 2, 3 lines. So then I can come over here and I can put that 1, 2, 3 lines. That means B plus A is going to end up here. Well, that's bigger than 7. Those are the kind of responses we're looking for. That's very limited in what we can and what we can't say because we have limited responses. All right, what can you tell me about B minus A? Well, if I would subtract these two numbers, I don't know what they are. You might say, well, that's 6, so that's 2. So I could say B minus A might equal 6 minus 2, so it might equal 4. Somebody else might look at this and say, well, it could be 5 and 3, so maybe it equals 2. Again, we don't know for sure. Those are just possibilities. So that's what you might be able to tell me. All right, so when you see these kind of number lines tonight on your homework, all right, you have limited information, so we know you can't be specific, but these are the kind of facts that we're looking for you to be able to restate to us. All right, more less than and greater than. I know it has to be bigger than this, but I know it can't be over this. Things like that. All right, so give it your best shot, and any questions you have, we'll take time tomorrow. Good night.